Hi Year 3, so it's Tuesday the 12th of May, second day of our English unit on poetry. And first of all, I'm going to tell you what our LOs are for today, our learning objectives, and then I will explain what we're going to do. So our first LO is I can prepare a poem to read aloud. So we're going to be doing a bit more performance poetry this morning. And then we're going to have a go at writing our own poems. So we're going to our LO is I can discuss writing similar to that which I'm going to plan. Okay, so we're going to look at the poem, you're going to write your own poem based on what we read. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to pause this video and you need to open up the link which is on the website below this video, which will reveal Joseph Coelho reading one of his poems to you. Okay, and the poem you're going to hear is from the same book as yesterday, Werewolf Club Rules, and it is called A Little Bit of Food. Okay, I think you're going to really enjoy this one. So open up the link and have a listen. I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to talk about the poem a little bit, talk about its structure and some of the techniques that the poet has used, and then I'm going to ask you to have a go at performing it. So first of all, if you open up as well the sheet which is also on this webpage, if you want to see the poem written out to help you in a minute, then that will be really useful, because you're going to have a look and you're going to think how many verses or stanzas are there and how many lines are there in each verse or stanza. Okay, so pause this video, open up the copy of the poem so you can have a really good look at it. How many verses, how many lines are in each verse? Okay, so hopefully you've noticed that there are 6 verses. Okay, and in each verse we have got 4 lines. Now I want you to have a little think. What kind of techniques has our poet used, has Joseph Coelho used? Okay, are there any words that rhyme? Is there any repetition? What are the kind of rules for this poem that he's written? So maybe pause this video again, have another really good think, have a look at it. If you're working with somebody, then tell them what you can see, what you can spot, or just have a think to yourself or jot some ideas down. Okay, and I will see you in a second. Okay, so what did you notice? Hopefully you noticed that within each of the stanzas there is some rhyme, isn't there? Okay, and what actually is rhyming is the end of line 2 with the end of line 4. So we would call this a rhyming couplet. It's not 2 lines together, they are separated, but you've got a little bit of P for my T. They are rhyming, okay? Lines 1 and 3, they don't rhyme, it's just lines 2 and 4. So I'm just going to read the first 3 verses and I want you to be able to tell me the words that you can hear that rhyme. A little bit of rice, a little bit of pea, on my plate for my tea. A little bit of jam, a little bit of toast, in the morning when I love it most. A little bit of banger, a little bit of mash, in my belly for a tasty bash. Okay, so what are the words that rhyme? We've got pea and tea, we've got toast and most, and we've got mash and bash. So as I've said, it's lines 2 and lines 4 that rhyme. Did you spot any repetition or patterns between the verses? Okay, hopefully you spotted that each of the verses starts with a little bit of. Okay, that's our repetition in line 1. And now line 2, most of the verses do again a little bit of, but some of them vary slightly. And then they explain something about when they're eating it, how they're eating it, and then a kind of finishing line that needs to rhyme with line 2. So that's kind of the structure of each verse. Okay, now you are going to start off by just having some fun with this poem. It's quite a fun one to perform, isn't it? You've heard Joseph Coelho do it, so maybe you've got some ideas. This isn't our only task today, so don't kind of spend your whole time for English performing it, because I think you're going to really enjoy our writing task. But just spend 5 or 10 minutes now performing that poem, okay? Do you want to add in some gestures, some actions? Think about your expression. This is a really fun one, so you can be really expressive. Think about the tempo and the rhythm, how you say it. Do you going to make sure you're keeping in a kind of rhythm with that? Maybe think about dynamics. Do you want to be loud and then quiet? Okay, so just have fun with it and have a look to performance ready in about 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, good luck. Okay, I wish I could have seen your performances. If anybody wants to email your teacher your performance, We would love to see them. So moving on to our writing task. Okay, we're going to be writing our own version of A Little Bit of Food. So on the sheet that's on the website, you will see, the copy of the poem, you scroll down the next sheet, you'll see a table that looks like this one here. Okay, that you don't have to use that, so you don't have to print the sheet out, but if you have printed it out, then use the table to help you. Otherwise, just write the next part down on a piece of paper. That's absolutely fine. So the first thing you need to do is you need to write a list of 5 of your favourite foods. Okay, that's your first task. I'm going to show you my list now. Okay, so here's my list. I've got bread, egg, chocolate, pasta, and strawberries. 5 of my favourite foods. Okay, so pause the video and write down a list just like this of 5 of your favourite foods. When you've done that, okay, we're going to add now to the next column. Now, column 2 is going to be 5 foods that would go with the foods you've written in column 1. Okay, so for example, in the poem, it said toast and jam. Yeah, so those 2 foods go together. It said rice and peas. So 2 foods that you might eat, a food that you might eat with the list in column 1. Okay, so in column 2, I've put those words to go with the words in column 1. I've got cheese to go with my bread, toast with the egg, cake for chocolate cake, sauce with the pasta, and cream with the strawberries. So I'd like you to pause the video now and add to column 2 foods that will go with the foods you've written in column 1. Okay, moving on to column 3. This is probably the trickiest one because we're going to be writing words that rhyme with the words that you've written in column 2, so my blue words. Now, this can be quite tricky. Rhyming is quite a tricky thing to do. So if you would prefer, you can always change one of the words you've written down if it's being a really tricky one to rhyme. You could swap it with the word in column 1 if that's easier. It doesn't matter which way around they are. Okay, but just have a go now at rhyming the words. Now I'm going to show you mine first. That might give you some ideas. And then after that you can pause the video and have a go. Okay, so the first one I need to rhyme is cheese. That was the top of my list. So I've got bread to go with cheese. A little bit of bread, a little bit of cheese. Try to think of a word to rhyme with cheese. Can you help me? Can you think of a word that rhymes with cheese? I guess trees could rhyme with cheese, but could I use trees in my poem about food? Possibly, I'm not quite sure how. Let me have a think. Maybe please. Please could rhyme with cheese, and I could say yes, please, to having my bread and cheese. So I'm going to use please. Okay, my next one is egg and toast. Now, as poets today, we are able to borrow ideas from other poems, from other things we've read. Now, a little bit of food, the one by Joseph Coyle at the beginning, he said he liked a little bit of jam and a little bit of toast in the mornings when I love it most. So actually, I'm going to borrow his rhyming word then, which is most. And that's okay. You can borrow his words or you can borrow my words. That's what poets can do. So, a little bit of egg, a little bit of toast, and I've got most. So now I've got chocolate cake and a word to rhyme with cake. Let's have a think. Can you help me? Can you think of any words that would rhyme with cake? Shake? Make? Make could work, couldn't it? Because you might make the cake. I'm going to use make. Okay, now I've got sauce. Now sauce is quite a tricky one, isn't it? Horse? Would horse fit in a poem about food? I guess you could be feeding something to your horse. Have you got any ideas? How about course? Of course, that might work. I'm going to do of course that rhymes with sauce. And finally, strawberries and cream. Now I've already thought about this one. I'm going to do dream. Okay, because strawberries and cream might taste like a dream. So I have now got my rhyming words. I've got my 3 columns completed. Now on the sheet on the website, as I've already said, you've got the blank table that you could be doing this on. But there's also an example of a table that I've filled out with these ideas on. So if you've forgotten what I've written and you want to use them to help you, then have a look at that table as well. I'll just show you what my sheet looks like now. So there we go, my 3 columns, okay? The purple column, the favourite foods, the blue, the foods that go with it, and the pink, rhyming words. So, task number 2, once you have got to this point, okay, is to put these words into a poem. So I have also put on the sheet, and again, if you've printed it out, you can use it or you can just write it out yourself, like a template for your poem. So you will see it says a little bit of, and then 2 lines, okay? So you're going to fill these in with the list of food that we've just created. So for my first one, a little bit of, I would be saying a little bit of bread, because that was my first word in column 1, a little bit of cheese, because that was my first word in column 2, and then I've got 2 lines, and because I'm rhyming the end of line 2 and the end of line 4, end of line 4 is what needs to rhyme with cheese. Okay, so let's think about that. We've got a little bit of bread, a little bit of cheese. Okay, I'm going to think, I want the 4th line to end with please. So I might say, for my lunch, oh yes please. And that could be my first verse. A little bit of bread, a little bit of cheese. For my lunch, oh yes please. Okay, that's verse 1. And this is all on the sheet as well, so you can refer to this, okay, as a kind of example. So then I'd move on to verse 2. So I'd have a little bit of egg, because that was the second line of words, a little bit of egg, a little bit of toast, and I'm going to borrow the same line from the poem, in the mornings when I love it most. Okay, so if you pause this video now and you just try writing maybe 1 or 2 verses, okay, because you don't have to do all 5, you can if you've got time, but it is quite tricky, especially if you're going to make it rhyme. So maybe pause the video and try verse 1 and 2. You don't have to make it rhyme, okay? I want you to have fun writing it. So if it's too tricky to rhyme, just write your own kind of 2 lines at the end, okay? Have a go at the first verse or 2. Okay, hope you've got some ideas down. So now I'm going to read you the rest of the poem. So I'm going to read you the whole of my version, and then you can go have a go at finishing yours. So, A Little Bit of Food by Mrs. Tiernan. A little bit of bread, a little bit of cheese. For my lunch, oh yes please. A little bit of egg, a little bit of toast. In the mornings when I love it most. A little bit of chocolate, a little bit of cake. Ooh, with a cup of tea that I love to make. A little bit of pasta, a little bit of sauce. Cheese on top? Yes, of course. A little bit of strawberry, a little bit of cream. In the garden, it's like a dream. Now, I'm also going to have my last verse the same as Joseph Coelho's last verse, and you could do the same. So that is, a little bit of food on my plate, eat it all up, feeling great. And that finishes my poem nicely. Now, I know when you heard the recording of Joseph Coelho reading it out, in between the verses, he did the kind of egg, toast, rice, peas. So if you want to do that as well on yours, you can do. That's up to you. So I'm going to leave you now to write out and create these wonderful poems, okay? However many verses you want to do, up to 5, and then you might use the last one from the original poem. I can imagine this may take a while, but if you wanted to and you've got time, you could then have a go at performing your poem that you've written. But you have done some performing already today, so if you don't want to do that, you run out of time, that's okay too. It might be actually that you choose to perform it later on in the day if you've got a spare 10 minutes, or you want to do it later in the week. Okay, your teachers would really love to read your poems that you've written. If you want to email them across or see you performing them, if you do manage to do that and video them. Another nice thing to do might be to perform a poem to somebody else, okay, to get your family to come and listen to you read your version, or ring up somebody on Zoom or FaceTime and read it to them across the phone. Okay, so really enjoy this task. I hope you do, and let us know how you get on, and I will see you all tomorrow.